Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call the July 7th work session to order. Before we get into the business today, I want to take this opportunity to first welcome back Commissioner Glover, who had been ill the last couple months, and we're glad to see you're doing better.
Thank you.
Also, my vice chair, she was having a great vacation without us. Next time, take me with you, please.
I promise.
You promise? We'll see. And then, just as important, if not more important, I'd like to welcome two new members of our commission today, Mr. Robert Watkins and Mr. Terry Evans. So thank you all so much for choosing to join our commission and serve our city. With that being said, I would like to pass it over to Director Russell to start today.
Good afternoon, everyone. We have 5 cases that we'd like to review the staff recommendation with you this afternoon before our public hearing. Our first case is use permit number 2603 for Newport Phase 3, and it's an application by Ms. Venable to construct 1-over-1 dwellings, townhouse dwellings, and multifamily dwellings on property located at 109 Missy Elliott Boulevard in the conditional multifamily urban residential URMK zoning district. The property is owned by Ella Homes and is further identified as tax map 523, parcel 1. The property is approximately 30.5 acres, and the future land use map and the Build One Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan designates this property for mixed-use corridor uses. This application was deferred from the May 5th, 2026 Planning Commission meeting. Mr. Bill Landfair, Principal Planner, is the staff coordinator for the case.
Thank you, Dr. Russell. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bill Landfair, Principal Planner in the Planning Department. So, the Newport community consists of 3 development zones or phases, encompassing approximately 208 acres, stretching between Portsmouth Boulevard and the Bidewee Golf Course. Newport guidelines were developed to create an adaptable neighborhood within one of Portsmouth's largest developable areas while maintaining architectural quality and compatibility with the surrounding area. The guidelines featured multiple housing product types with traditional architectural elements. Lot configurations and street layouts are designed to increase walkability, minimize traffic congestion, and maximize community open space for residents. The subject property, located at 109 Missy Elliott Boulevard, is approximately 29.7 acres in size and zoned conditional multifamily urban residential, or URMK. As shown on this aerial, the site is currently vacant and largely wooded. The character of the surrounding area is predominantly commercial and residential. The property is bound to the north by commercial properties and railroad rights-of-way, to the east by the interchange for Interstate 264 and Portsmouth Boulevard, to the south by Interstate 264, and to the west by Missy Elliott Boulevard. Across Missy Elliott Boulevard is the Victory Crossing Shopping Center. For this phase of development, the Newport Design Guidelines recommended a mix of housing types featuring traditional architecture. While the applicant made some minor changes to the original layout to meet current stormwater management requirements, the zoning administrator found that the proposed concept site plan, which is shown on the right, is substantially similar to the original plan shown on the left. The concept site plan proposes 394 total dwelling units, which is a decrease of 33 units from the original 2006 master plan. The layout is designed with an urban, walkable grid pattern with a main entry road leading to a central clubhouse and public amenities. Additionally, the placement of the multifamily buildings in front of the site and adjacent to Interstate 264 is identical to the original plan. The proposed architecture is consistent with the design guidelines through its use of craftsman and bungalow-style exteriors, earth tone and historic color palettes, unifying masonry elements, and bay windows and dormers. While both the 1-over-1 condominiums and townhouse dwellings resemble traditional townhouse structures, these units are actually classified by the zoning ordinance as multifamily dwellings, since they will share a single lot. Because of the enlarged areas required for stormwater management on the property, the multifamily buildings, which were originally proposed as 3-story buildings, are now proposed as 4-story elevator buildings. The future land use map in the Build 1 Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan designates the subject property for mixed-use corridor uses. Staff is recommending approval of the applicant's request with the recommended conditions. Staff finds that the proposed development conforms with the recommendations of the comprehensive plan and the Newport design guidelines. The proposed development will provide a walkable neighborhood with compact development patterns, interconnected streets, and integrated parks and open space within one of Portsmouth's largest developable areas, while maintaining architectural quality and compatibility with the surrounding area. To date, the Planning Department has not received any comments. That concludes my presentation, and I will now stand by for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Lampier. Commissioners, any questions regarding this project?
Can you clarify the conditions, please?
Sure. See if I have one moment. I'll get my staff report. So the first condition is that the subsequent plans would be in substantial compliance. That is, when I say subsequent plans, the site plan would be in substantial compliance with the plan that you see there. Second condition is that it will be in substantial compliance with the rendered concept elevations, the architecture that you see. And without limitation, before operating the multifamily dwelling component of the project, the applicant will be installing digital video equipment. This is a standard condition that we are now adding to many multifamily projects to ensure future security for the residents. We also have a condition that says that the development will be constructed in compliance with all applicable codes, ordinances, and regulations of federal, state, and local government. All required licenses and permits shall be obtained and remain in effect during the operation of the development. All taxes and fees associated with the property shall be paid when due, as determined by the city treasurer, and that this use permit, when approved, will automatically expire and become void 3 years from the date of approval by City Council if the use is inactive or changed to a different use, unless within that 3-year period a building permit is obtained and/or erection or alteration of the structure is started, or a certificate of occupancy is obtained and the approved use is commenced.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any additional questions?
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Director Russell, next one, please.
Okay. Mr. Landfair, Principal Planner, is also the staff coordinator for use permit 2604. It is an application by Pro Home Builders and a request to construct 6 townhouse units on approximately half an acre located at 2400 Airline Boulevard in the general mixed-use GMU zoning district. The property is further identified as tax map 336 parcel 1. Future land use map in the Build 1 Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan designates this property for mixed-use corridor uses, and this item was deferred from the June 2nd and 8th Planning Commission meetings.
Thank you, Dr. Russell. Again, for the record, my name is Bill Landfair, Principal Planner with the Planning Department. Subject property is part of a larger parcel located at the intersection of Airline Boulevard, Kings Highway, and Oregon Avenue. The eastern half of the site contains an office use and a surface parking lot, both of which will remain. The western half contains the remnants of an old drive-through bank lane and surface parking, which, once subdivided, will comprise about half an acre in size. Currently, there are 38 dumpsters used for the storage of construction debris on that site. The property is not located within a special flood area. A mix of residential, commercial, and institutional land uses characterizes the surrounding neighborhood. Fronting the property to the north is the Portsmouth Catholic Regional School in the UR zoning district and local offices of the Salvation Army in the URM district. Confronting to the west are single-family dwellings in the UR and URM districts. Confronting to the east are single-family dwellings in the URM zoning district and an automotive supply business in the GMU zoning district. And to the south is an office use in the GMU zoning district. The applicant is proposing to subdivide the property into 6 townhouse lots. 2 will be end units and 4 will be interior lots. Each 3-story townhouse will measure 21 feet in width and 52 feet in depth, resulting in a building footprint of approximately 1,092 square feet. Each unit will have a rear-loaded 2-car garage and 2 surface off-street vehicle parking spaces, which will be accessible via a single driveway through a cross easement from Oregon Avenue. The architecture will feature stacked stone foundation walls, horizontal lap siding, architectural asphalt shingle roofs, 4/1 windows, rear decks above the garages, concrete front and entry porches, and traditional wall-mounted lighting. The submitted elevations and conceptual plan are incorporated into the conditions of approval for the use permit to ensure substantial conformity with the recommended design standards. Staff is recommending approval of the request with the recommended conditions. The proposed use will be consistent with the overall intent and purposes of the city's Build One Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan and is appropriate in this location. The request also supports the 2020 Portsmouth Citywide Strategic Housing Plan, which makes recommendations for updating the city's housing stock with quality, modern housing. To date, the Planning Department has heard from 3 citizens expressing concerns about the application. Their written comments have been distributed to you, the commissioners, so you have them in hand. Their concerns include traffic, parking, impacts, public safety, compatibility with the neighborhood, quality of the architecture, and the storage of the dumpsters on the site. This concludes my presentation, and I'll now stand by for any questions.
Thank you. Commissioners, I will point out that the stapled package you received has 2 different attachments. One is regarding this item, and the other is regarding, the one in the front is regarding the other Churchland item. Just for clarity, I myself had thought it was all just one. With that being said, I would ask you, do you have any questions at this time?
Did I miss it? Is this a recommendation for acceptance from the planning department?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, I didn't hear that, all right.
And the storage that's presently on the site, that's temporary storage that they're using until the...
Right, yeah, and the applicant who is here will speak to that as to how long it's been in use on the site and their current efforts to secure a new location, which they believe will happen soon. They'll speak to that directly in the public hearing.
Thank you.
So to that item, does that also address the information we get about the first priority disposal?
Correct.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
That comment was from a concerned citizen.
Okay. For the record, Ms. Phillips, who sent this letter, was here in June. So she did speak to some of us when she was present, and she did make us aware that she was going to be traveling this month and wanted to make sure that we did receive her feedback in advance. Any additional questions, commissioners? Well, I did have one question. As we look at this, because I know one of the things we often hear, especially when we see multifamily coming into a single family, how does the design, pardon me, I can't see as well as I once could, how does the design of this one compare to the design of Newport? Not that one affects the other, they're literally a quarter of a mile from each other. Just trying to see if the aesthetic is very similar when we're looking at the townhouses.
I think it is. The detailing is a little different, and the Newport project has the benefit of those guidelines, very, very detailed guidelines that were put together 20 years ago. This architecture has been newly created, if you will, and may very well continue to evolve a bit. At time of site plan, though, we will want to ensure that the quality of the architecture is at least consistent with what you see there, if not better. With Newport, some of the townhomes are located along streets, private streets. Some of them are located along essentially parking areas. In this instance, I think what we like about this particular project is that it is rear-loaded, meaning that there are garages on the rear side of these townhomes, which are accessed by one common driveway, And because of that, you won't see the parking necessarily, or at least the view of the parking will be mitigated from the street. So from the street, you'll actually have front yards. So we find that to be a good element on this particular project. It presents, we think, a better face.
In point of clarity, not just front yards, but also no parking along
Correct.
that street. Yeah.
And I might add that you have 4 parking spaces per unit in this instance. So the zoning ordinance requirement is 2 spaces. So they're providing twice the normal zoning requirement.
And did we receive, looking again, did we get the traffic study on this one?
No, there has been no traffic study
Okay.
required at this point in time, but it may very well be required at time of site plan. And the focus of that traffic study will be primarily on the impact on the AM and PM peak traffic periods.
Yeah.
The traffic that would be generated by the 6 units.
Okay, perfect. Any additional questions?
Can you go back, you have a picture of the vacant lot, and what, is it going to be facing airline? I'm just a little bit confused.
Right, so it's,
He's in Kings.
so actually, it'll face the street here. It won't actually face Airline.
That's Kings Highway.
It's Kings Highway.
Okay.
And then the access will be off of Oregon, which is to the rear.
You go to the vicinity map.
That's what I wanted to see.
So what you see outlined is the entire property, including the front half, which will remain as is, which contains the office and parking for the applicant's business.
Okay,
The
so,
rear half that will, which is approximately half an acre in size, that'll be redeveloped.
all right, so if I was coming down Airline to access that, I'd take a left on King and a left on Oregon to come into the back of that to
Correct.
park? Okay.
That's right, correct, yeah.
Any additional questions? Great. Thank you, Mr. Lincoln.
Okay, thank you.
Director Russell?
Okay, the third application is use permit 2606 by Mr. Kevin Alexander, and it's a use permit request to allow the development of 7 townhouse units on property located at 1211 Rodman Avenue and 3614 Race Street in the multifamily urban residential zoning district. The properties are owned by Kevin Alexander and further identified as tax map 314 and parcels 56 and 55. They are approximately 1.9 acres each, and respectively, the future land use map and the Build One Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan designates the properties for mixed-use corridor uses, and Mr. Alariza Varkandikish, senior planner, is the staff coordinator for the case.
Thank you, Dr. Russell. Good afternoon, Chair and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Ali Reza Farkhundaki, Senior Planner with the City of Portsmouth. The application before you today is use permit UP-2606, also referred to West Haven. Kevin Alexander and Keith Alexander request a use permit to allow the development of 7 townhouse dwelling units on properties located at 1211 Rodman Avenue and 3614 Race Street in the multi-family urban residential URM zoning district. The subject properties are located at the intersection of Rodman Avenue and Race Street. The site consists of 2 parcels, tax map 341, parcels 560 and 550, with a combined area of approximately 0.3736 acres. The future land use map designated the properties as a mixed-use corridor. This slide shows the subject property. The site is currently vacant and is located at the corner of Race Street and Rodman Avenue. The applicant is proposing to develop the site with 7 townhouse dwelling units. This slide shows the surrounding neighborhood. Context: the subject properties are located within an existing street grid with residential development and other nearby uses surrounding the site. These photographs show views looking north and west toward the subject properties. They provide additional context for the surrounding streets and nearby development pattern. These photographs show views looking east and south from the subject properties. Together, the site photos show the existing condition around the property and the surrounding neighborhood context. The slide shows the proposed site layout. The 7 townhouse dwelling units are proposed along Race Street with Rodman Avenue, located to the west. Final site layout, engineering, utility, and stormwater requirements will be reviewed through the plan of development and site plan process. The slide shows the proposed front elevations for the townhouse units. The current submittal includes updated building elevations that reflect the actual plans proposed for construction. And my next slide shows the proposed real elevations. Although the elevations have been updated from the prior approval, the proposed use and number of dwelling units remain unchanged. The next slide shows the proposed site elevations. The proposed building materials remain generally consistent with the prior approval, including a break skirt and a combination of vinyl siding and hardy plank board. The next slide shows the proposed first floor plan. The applicant is proposing two-story units with the garage located on the ground floor. The current proposal increases the size of each unit from approximately 1,540 square feet to approximately 1,591 square feet. This slide shows the proposed second floor plan. The current submittal also increases the bathroom count from 2 bathrooms to 2.5 bathrooms per unit. These changes are minor and do not change the proposed use or the number of dwelling units. Staff recommended approval of use permit UP-26-06 with the conditions based on those adopted in resolution R-23-20 for use permits UP-23-01 as modified to reflect the current application materials and the requested 3 years expiration period. The subject properties are zoned URM and the proposed use is 7 townhouse dwelling units, which requires approval of use permits. The proposed dimensional standards appear to comply with the applicable URM requirements, with final compliance to be verified during site plan review. Although the current submittal includes minor changes to unit size, bathroom count, and building elevations, the proposed townhouse development remains appropriate for this location and supports the recommendations of the Build One Portsmouth comprehensive plan. This concludes staff's presentation. I'm available to answer any questions from the commission.
Commissioners, any questions?
Yes.
Yes, Commissioner Jiggets?
The first question, because of my last name, is very difficult for people to pronounce correctly. I could go into the Guinness Book of Records with my last name by marriage. Would you mind enunciating your last name for me?
Sure. Farkhondekish.
Say it again.
Farkhondekish.
Oh, Ahuntadesh.
Farkhondehkish.
And you pronounce that fa?
Farkondekish.
Okay, I'm gonna have to work on it, because I don't like people to mispronounce my name, and they do it all the time.
You can go by Mr. Kish. It's easy.
I didn't even get that, so I'll just talk to you further afterwards, because this, it's important. I will say this, for the name of the street, if you would really give this focus and just pronounce it Race Street,
Sure.
because it could come across in a negative manner, which you don't want to have that happen, okay? Now, where are you from originally?
Like 10, 11 years, I'm here in the United States, but originally from Middle East.
From where?
Middle East.
The Middle East. I will remind you all, we have a short schedule today.
Okay. Because like I said, I like to see people's names enunciated correctly, and because I take it on the cuff all the time with my name. So, and I'm Commissioner Jiggets, but it gets pronounced in many different ways. So welcome.
Thank you for your feedback. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any additional questions?
I just got a quick question.
Yes, Commissioner.
I'm just looking at, what we were looking at in Oregon acres was a little over a half an acre. That was 6 townhouses. This is barely over a third of an acre, and it's 7? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, because based on the zoning, they completely follow all the zoning requirements. So, yeah, the project, the architect could be different, and as long as...
No, I just wanted to make sure I was understanding.
Yes, there are 7 townhouses,
Okay.
yes.
And this was the recommendation from the planning department?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Now, I will say, as you're looking at the lot size, I think the depth and the width are slightly different as well, different like ratios. So I think this lot is a little bit wider as in comparison to the other one. It just doesn't go quite as deep back, but it definitely is a
Yeah, but
smaller
we're looking
lot.
at like 600 feet
Yeah.
on the first floor, 900 on the second floor. That's a tiny townhouse.
Yeah.
You can see that.
Any additional questions? Okay, thank you.
All right.
All right, Dr.
Mr.
Marcos.
Farkondekish has the next application as well. It's use permit 2607, an application by Mr. Blakely of TRG Community Development, and it's a request for the development of a multifamily dwelling project for persons 55 years of age or older on property located at 3993 Twin Pine Roads in the multifamily urban residential district URM. The property is owned by the Portsmouth Redevelopment Housing Authority and is further identified as tax parcel identification number 846, parcel 28. The property is approximately 3.7 acres, and the future land use map of the Build One Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan designates this property for multifamily residential uses.
Thank you again, Dr. Russell. And for records, my name is Ali Reza Farkondekish, Senior Planner with the City of Portsmouth. The application before you today is use permits UP 26-07 for the proposed Twin Pines Senior Apartment at 3993 Twin Pines Road. The applicant, under Blakely of TRG Community Development, requests a use permit to allow the development of an 82-unit low-rise senior apartment building for persons 55 years of age or older. The property is located in the multi-family urban residential, or URM, zoning district, and the future land use map designates the property of multi-family residential uses. This slide shows the zoning and areal context for the subject property. This site is located along Twin Pines Road and is surrounded by a mix of multi-family residential, retail, commercial, and vacant properties. The proposed senior apartment use is consistent with the surrounding development pattern and the multi-family residential future land use designation. The subject property is approximately 3.73 acres and is currently vacant. The request would allow the site to be developed with an age-restricted senior apartment building consistent with the property zoning and future land use designation. These views of the area, these views show the area of the east and north of the subject property. The surrounding context includes existing multi-family residential development and nearby properties that support the overall residential character of the area. The slide identifies the surrounding land use. The subject property is located near existing multi-family residential, retail, and commercial uses and vacant property. Overall, the proposed development is compatible with the surrounding land use pattern. View of east and south. This is the Twin Pines Street. From the previous use permit, the design has some minor changes, including the northern driveway changed to egress only, southern driveway width from 20 feet to 30 feet, ADA crosswalks added, ADA parking increased, including one EV charging accessible space, open space increased, and private dog park added, landscaping along Twin Pines Road increased, left turn lane and entrance tapers added, covered vehicular drop-off area eliminated, and roof height reduced to the maximum allowable height. The rendering shows the proposed building design. The project includes one 4-story low-rise senior apartment building with 82 units for persons 55 years of age or older. The rendering illustrates the general building form, materials, and appearance proposed for the development. The slide shows the proposed site plan. The layout includes the senior apartment building, surface parking, internal circulation, pedestrian connections, open space, landscaping, and stormwater management at the rear of the site. From a site planning perspective, the updated layout refines access and circulation. The northern driveway is egress only, while the southern driveway provides full access from Twin Pines Road and has been widened to support emergency vehicle movement. The plan also improved pedestrian and ADA circulation and coordinates parking, and increased open spaces and site amenities with the building layout. Staff recommends approval with condition of use permit UP-26-07, although there have been minor site design updates since the prior approval. The proposed use remains appropriate for this location and supports the multi-family residential designation in the Build 1 Portsmouth comprehensive plan. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Commissioners, yes, Commissioner Evans.
I was wondering what sort of consideration was given for walkability outside of that specific area? Because I know that's something that's very important for older people, is being able to walk. Because I know they have the ADA compliant crosswalks. However, it did not seem like they could get much further than just outside the building, looking at the site plan. And then also, was there consideration for proximity to senior centers, medical facilities, other stuff that I think would be important for individuals living in that community?
May I answer that question, Commissioner?
Of course.
Commissioner Evans, the developer is here, and that would be a question appropriate for the developer, who will get to speak during the public hearing.
Commissioner Watkins.
Yeah, I also, since this is 55 and older, and it's a rental and not owned as a condo, so I'm not sure if that falls under the 80-20 occupancy type, to where I think if you own a condo, that 80% of those can be owned by a 55 and older, and 20% for those under can occupy that. I'm not sure if this applies since it's a rental, but I also want to make sure that they comply with accessibility. Some people, as they age, they may go in as 55, 56, 60, and they get older. So accessibility on and off the property, and including the interior for wheelchair access and things like that. So I just want to make sure that the proper code applications are applied in this particular sense for 55 and older communities. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
May we defer those to the applicant during
Definitely.
the public hearing? Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Let's see, Commissioner Jacobs?
Yeah. I think I saw something about a dog park.
Dog park, yes, they add the dog park.
The occupants, they will be allowed to have a dog in their apartment, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Glover?
Yeah, you said in the revised plan that they've removed the covered drop-off area. Was that something we asked them to do?
No, we didn't ask them to do. This is their kind of new design because their prior use permit was what they call like expired, and they resubmitted. So they changed some minor things on the design, but we didn't ask them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if it was something we had asked them
Because
to
they
do.
already has the use permit from the old design, the prior design.
Okay.
Any additional questions?
I do.
Yes, Commissioner Jacobs.
Because I need to be clear on this. In this particular project, every person who's leasing an apartment will be allowed to have a dog.
Yeah, I think it would be a great question. We can ask the applicant
Yeah,
in the session.
yeah. Well, we've already got the dog park added. That's what triggered the question of observation for me.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Thank you, sir.
All right. If no additional questions, we'll go on to our last item. Director Russell?
So this is a Chesapeake Bay exception application by Mr. Whitaker, and it is a request to construct an addition that encroaches into the resource protection area of the Chesapeake Bay Preservation District on property located at 4443 Pelican Point in the General Residential GR Zoning District. The encroachment is approximately 400 square feet, and the property is further identified as tax map 902, parcel 136. The property is approximately 1/14 of an acre in size, and the future land use map in the Build One Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan designates this property for single-family residential to low to medium density, and Mr. Malcolm Jones, senior planner, is the staff coordinator for this application.
Thank you, Dr. Russell. Again, my name is Malcolm Jones, senior planner with the Portsmouth Planning Department, and today we'll be talking about a Chesapeake Bay exception case, CVE 26-02, which is in Hidden Cove. Hidden Cove is a subdivision that was approved in 1997, 164 lot single-family homes. This particular property began construction in 2002 as a part of that subdivision. The applicant, Mr. Whitaker, is requesting a Chesapeake Bay preservation exception for a 20 by 20 rear addition that encroaches into the resource protection area at 4443 Pelican Point in the General Residential Conditional Zoning District. So I want to give you a little bit of background about why we review these particular cases. The Chesapeake Bay is the largest estuary, and estuary is where fresh water meets salt water. The Chesapeake Bay is the largest estuary in North America, and it's the third largest estuary in the world. Given that, we have a great need to protect it. In addition, in Portsmouth, our streams, creeks, and rivers feed into the Elizabeth River, and the Elizabeth River pours into the Chesapeake Bay. So the current state of the bay is not healthy. 29% of it meets the water quality standards for aquatic life and vegetation. This is largely due to runoff from land disturbance, storms, construction, and settlement. Because of this, Chesapeake Bay Preservation Act was adopted in 1988 to protect water quality and strictly regulating development in environmentally sensitive zones. Those zones that we'll discuss today are the RMA, which is the Resource Management Area, the RPA, which is Resource Protection Area, and the state waters. So, the first zone we'll speak about, which you can see in the blue to your left, is the Resource Management Area. It's the land outside of the Resource Protection Area, or RPA, but still near the waters. It acts as a transitional area, and development is allowed in these areas with zoning controls. Then we have, in the red section in the middle part of the picture, the Resource Protection Area, which is the most sensitive land directly next to the water. It includes a 100-foot buffer of land before the waters, which you can see the landward 50-foot buffer and the seaward 50-foot buffer, which makes up the 100-foot buffer. And then we have non-tidal wetlands and tidal wetlands before state waters. This area is the highest level of protection because it's the last line of defense before reaching state water. And then we have state waters, which is rivers, streams, and tidal waters, or tributary waters that flow into the Chesapeake Bay. The Chesapeake Bay is the primary resource that we're trying to protect with the buffers. These all work together as different buffers that prevent the runoff and pollution and different things from getting into the water itself. It is for these reasons that development in the resource protection area is highly restricted. The request is before you because it cannot be administratively approved and requires Planning Commission review. The Planning Commission may grant an exception for a request if the required criteria from Section 9.1-10 is met. In addition, the Planning Department is undergoing a compliance review by the Department of Environmental Quality to see if we're adhering to such criteria. The Chesapeake Bay exception requirement or criteria is as follows. The request must be the minimum necessary to afford relief. The request cannot be based on self-created or self-imposed conditions. The request cannot confer upon the applicant special privileges. The request must remain in harmony with the ordinance and not cause further water degradation. And the request must be reasonable and appropriate. In addition to the criteria we just spoke about, the planning staff uses some best practices to consider these cases using the ARMOR framework. In these cases, we want to avoid the RPA altogether if possible. If we cannot avoid it, we want to reduce the footprint. We want to mitigate any environmental loss. We only want to do what's necessary and consider all viable alternatives. And we want to do all these things to try to restore water quality. All right. In this particular slide, to your left is a map that we created with GIS, which emulates the RPA. So the RPA was the Resource Protection Area, that 100-foot buffer, and the wetlands, which acts as a buffer before we get to the state waters. As you can see from our GIS emulation, the majority, if not all of the property, is in the RPA. To our right is the actual survey or site plan, which demonstrates the surveyed land. We can see the 100-foot buffer, which is the red line, the two red lines, and the green line. At the beginning of the property, we can see the landward 50-foot buffer beginning, and that middle red line would be where the landward 50-foot buffer ends, and then at the top where the green line is the seaward 50-foot buffer before we get to the marsh, wetlands, and then Hawford Creek. To the north, south, and west is single-family homes. And then we have a frontal shot of the house and an aerial view of the house as well. This slide shows the backyard where the rear addition is being proposed. And then I put a red rectangle around where the proposed rear addition is going to be. It's going to encroach upon already disturbed patio, and the back doors will be moved to a different position. The bottom picture depicts the actual aerial shot of the land with the marshlands and the body of water Hoffer Creek. To your right, we have a site plan that has red broken lines. The red broken lines depicts the seaward and landward buffer. And then we have the gray box is a 20 by 20 rear addition that's proposed. As you can see from that middle line, the proposal is right before the seaward buffer. And then we have the applicant is proposing a planting unit, which comes from our water quality impact assessment for the disturbance in land. The full analysis of this recommendation can be found in your staff report within your packet. Based on the application and the criteria, staff analysis with the mitigations and other conditions, the staff recommends approval with conditions. To date, the staff has not received any public comments on this matter. This concludes my presentation, and I'll open up the floor to the chair to bring forth any questions, comments, or concerns.
Commissioners, any questions? I will make you aware, it's 1:27 now. We were scheduled for 1:30 start, and we will be moving the additional item of short-term rental ordinance discussion to the public session at the very end. And we're going to try to get to Administrator Boone today as well. So I do still defer to you all if you have any questions regarding this item. Seeing no questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Russell.
Okay. And so our last item for your work session is a review of the Board of Zoning Appeals agenda items for the July 22nd meeting. There is one agenda item for the property located at 4740 West Norfolk Road.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I am Trevon Boone, Zoning Administrator for the City of Portsmouth, and pursuant to Section 15-2-2310 of the Virginia Code, the Zoning Administrator is required to notify the local planning commissioners of applications received for special exceptions or variances. The Planning Commission may provide recommendations to the Board of Zoning Appeals or choose to appear as a party at the hearing. For our upcoming Board of Zoning Appeals meeting, which will be held July the 22nd, 2026, we have one agenda item for consideration, and that is for a variance for 4740 West Norfolk Road. They request a variance before the Board of Zoning Appeals in accordance with Zoning Ordinance Section 40.2-534, subsection B, subsection 2. And that's to authorize a detached accessory structure located beyond the front facade of the principal structure and to reduce the required rear yard setback to 2 feet for the proposed detached accessory structure. We'll stand by for any questions if there be any on this particular item.
Commissioners, any questions? Thank you. With that being said, I give you all a couple of moments to freshen up, get ready, and meet me on the dais for us to begin the city's work. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you all to a very important meeting today, Tuesday, July 8th, being held in City Council chambers. Or, I'm sorry, Tuesday, July 7th, 2026, being held in the City Council chambers. Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will now confirm that all members of the Planning Commission are present by calling the roll. Commissioners, when I call your name, please reply with a verbal response. Commissioner G.
Present.
Commissioner Curry. Commissioner Taylor.
Present.
Commissioner Jiggets.
Present.
Commissioner Evans.
Present.
Commissioner Watkins.
Present.
Commissioner Glover.
Present.
6 members of the Planning Commission are present.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Commissioners, before you are the minutes of the June 2nd, 2026 public hearing. If there aren't any changes, we are in need of a motion to approve the minutes.
I move the planning.
Oh.
Somebody else did it.
Commissioner Taylor?
Oh, okay. I move that the planning commission recommend approval of the minutes from the last meeting.
Commissioner Glover?
Second.
Madam Secretary, you have a motion and a second?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Motioned and second to approve the minutes from the June the 2nd public hearing, and you will be Voting, please reply with a verbal response. Commissioner G,
Yes.
Commissioner Curry, Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
Commissioner Jiggets,
Yes.
Commissioner Evans,
Yes.
Commissioner Glover,
Yes.
Commissioner Watkins. The minutes are approved by a vote of 6-0. Announcements of future meetings and conferences. Our next scheduled work session is Tuesday, August the 4th, 2026, at 12:30 p.m. City Council Chamber, City Council Conference Room, followed by public hearing at 1:30 p.m. City Council Chamber. Planning Commission rules limit a speaker up to 5 minutes to speak. We also ask that everyone please silence your cell phones at this time if you have not already done so. Our first item, UP-26-03 Newport. M. Vulnerable requests a use permit to construct 1/1 dwelling, townhouse dwellings, and multifamily dwellings on the property located at 109 Missy Elliott Boulevard in the conditional multifamily urban residential zoning district. The property is owned by Ella Homes and is further identified as tax map 523, parcel 1. The property is approximately 30.49 acres, and the future land use map in the Build One Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan designates this property for mixed-use corridor uses. This item was deferred from our June the 8th Planning Commission meeting. Will the applicant or the representative for this application please come forward and present your application at this time?
One item, Ms. Venerable, please. I just wanted to, for the record, make sure that we realize this one, being that this item was deferred in a previous meeting, we need to reopen. Is that correct, Mr. Miller?
The public hearing on this item is already complete, so I would recommend that we have a presentation from the applicant just to refresh commissioners on the item.
Okay.
Then we can proceed to vote.
Okay, thank you. So, Ms. Venerable, if you give us a brief presentation, please. And thank you again for coming before us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Absolutely. My name is Melissa Venable. I am representing the applicant on this project this afternoon. My company's Land Planning Solutions, located at 5857 Harborview Boulevard in Suffolk, Virginia. I actually moved to this area right when after this project started. This was my introduction to Hampton Roads, if you can believe it. And this, amongst some other projects and learning about Tidewater, made me leave Washington, D.C. and come to this area, get married, start a family, and live happily ever after. But this was my first, if you can believe it, Newport. That many years ago was my introduction to the area, and I fell in love with the area. So it's really exciting to be here. I represented Newport Phase 2 for their conditional use permit, and now I'm here representing Phase 3 for their conditional use permit. As you know, the zoning is in place, but a conditional use permit is required for the attached products. Newport will provide a mix of housing opportunities, as Ms. Jackson noted earlier. And in this particular case, we are excited that we can incorporate affordable housing into this section within walking distance to retail and employment. It's also in line with the original plan, as again you can see here on the slide. Noting by the zoning verification letter, which I hope you have in your package, the layout follows the urban design principles and follows the existing design guidelines established in the original design and approved rezoning of the site. We are proposing 3 types of housing in this location. All 3 products will be for sale. The community will have its own association that will maintain the stormwater management ponds, open green areas, and community amenities. A pool, clubhouse, and recreation area will also be available within this section for the residents. This amenity is centrally located and within walking distance for all the residents. Further, we're working on a traffic impact analysis now, and what we're learning is that turn lanes or some type of improvement will be required at Missy Elliott intersection. And what was noted to us when we first met with staff is that it would be important to have pedestrian crossways across Missy Elliott from the community. So not only are we looking at turn lanes, but the possibility instead of maybe a small roundabout where you can have a safe zone on the roadway to get across over to Victory. And we think that's going to be a huge benefit to the area and to this community. We will continue to work on those off-site improvements and work with the city as we get through this process and onto site plan. At the entrance to the neighborhood from Missy Elliott, you'll see the multiple 4-story buildings that we are proposing. I think this is a real benefit to the community, as these buildings will have secure entries as opposed to what was originally proposed as like garden-style apartments that were walk-up. These will have secured entries and elevators within them. So that'll serve both an active adult community, a younger community with children, but a much more elevated building with the 4 stories being proposed. The estimated price points for this product are from the mid-200s to $300,000. These homes will range from 1,150 square feet to 1,600 square feet, and I missaid that, I'm sorry, high 200s to the mid-300s for this product type. Also offered in the community are the 3-story townhomes, similar in appearance to what you see in Phase 1 today. They will have rear entry garages and front porches and stoops that emphasize the pedestrian orientation and the inviting walkability of the street network that's proposed throughout Newport. This product will be sold in the mid-200 range to the upper 200 range. The size of these homes will be approximately 1,400 to 1,500 square feet. Lastly, we're proposing a 1-over-1 stacked townhome. This will address the affordability need we've been talking about so much, and that came up during the Newport Phase 2. Ms. Jiggets, I think you talked about that quite a bit then. This product will also have parking to the rear of the home. They won't have garages. There'll be 2-bedroom homes, and they will start in the low 200 price range. These homes are 900 to 1,100 square feet. As you know, it's very rare to have new homes available in today's market at these price points. This would allow neighbors to leave the rental market and enter into the home ownership market. We would ask for your support today for this conditional use permit to construct the proposed unit types mentioned that meet the established architectural design standards set forth about 20 years ago, based upon staff and planning review and the need for more attainable housing. I'll stand by if you have any additional questions. Thank you.
Commissioners, do you have any questions of the applicant? Okay, so no questions. Also, as someone who moved here 20 years ago, right when this was first proposed, I'm glad that we grew up together in the city. But no, thank you again for coming back each month, and we look forward to addressing this.
Terrific. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, the public hearing has been closed on this item. Mr. Chairman, we will now move for a motion.
Before we make a motion, I want to make sure that the public is aware we are having technical difficulties today. That's the reason that you notice that we're doing everything through a voice vote instead of our normal digital system. Just want to make sure everyone was aware. That being said, Commissioners, I am in need of a motion regarding UP 26-03 with conditions.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner?
I move that the Planning Commission recommend approval, along with any recommendations from staff, of the proposal UP 26-03 Newport.
Thank you, Commissioner Watkins. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Taylor. Sorry. Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a motion and a second to approve UP-26-03 with recommended conditions. And Commissioners, as I call your name, please reply with a verbal response. Commissioner
Jiggets?
I thought in the session we just left out of,
Could you turn your mic on, please?
the session we just left out of, did we not say we wanted to be more specific with the conditions as a part of the motion? Just give me a yay or nay.
Yay-ish. Just we needed to state with conditions or without conditions, or if there were any deviations from it. In the past, we've had a tendency to not state with conditions. So at least with conditions is appropriate.
Is sufficient.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, as I call your name, please reply with a verbal response. Commissioner G,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
Commissioner Jiggets,
Yes.
Commissioner Evans,
Yes.
Commissioner Glover,
Yes.
Commissioner Watkins.
Yes.
This item is approved by a vote of 6-0 with conditions. Our next item, UP-26-04, Oregon Acres. Pro Home Builders LLC requests a use permit to construct 6 townhouse units on approximately 0.52 acres located at 2400 Airline Boulevard in the General Mixed Use Zoning District. The property is further identified as Tax Map 336, Parcel 1. The future land use map in the Build One Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan designates this property for mixed-use corridor uses. This item was also deferred from the June the 8th Planning Commission meeting. Will the applicant or representative for this application come forward? State your name and your address, and please present your case.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Juan Aponte. I'm the applicant in this use permit application, and thank you for having us here. So the project itself is co-located with my main office of Pro Home Builders right up front on Airline Boulevard. This is something that has been on the thoughts of me and my wife for quite a long time. We've been operating out of Airline Boulevard since 23, and that rear parcel has always been on my head on what to do because it's really kind of adjacent to the residential community, but also on Airline Boulevard. So we decided to then redevelop it and make something residential in the area so it'd be more appealing to the neighborhood in the rear portion. In order to maximize the footprint and looking at the surrounding areas and the projects that have been developed lately, so we decided for the townhome approach to maximize the square footage and also provide the better access to parking and all the other amenities that were mentioned previously in the working session. Besides that, I think we're eager to start this. Our price point will be around the mid-300s, trying to keep it affordable for what's out there right now. Pending that, I'm here for any other questions you guys might have.
Commissioners, do you have any questions of the applicant? I'll ask one. Welcome back as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
As you have this, you still are going to have your main office located at that location, correct?
At Airline Boulevard, yes, sir.
How are you going to differentiate? Is there a separation?
Correct.
Fencing?
There will be some fencing and some buffer that we're going to include vegetations and trees. So it will be separating the two areas from the residential portion to our offices up front.
Okay, perfect. We've also received a few items from the public with regards to this development.
Sure.
Have you had an opportunity to speak with the neighbors?
We went out and knocked on doors to all the ones that were notified and also to the neighbor businesses. And we did discuss with a few of the businesses. I was not able to reach any of the neighbors personally, but we did left letters and cards in case they had any questions. We also had a lady that reached out via our Facebook page. We responded immediately. I provided my phone number for her to call back, but unfortunately, we never heard back from her directly.
Okay, thank you. We also received a concern regarding first priority disposal. As a business, and again, I don't have the ability to look into this, but they listed it. They said that it was an unregistered business, but it's showing its location being that location there.
So I could provide some background on that. Us as a builders, this all came up with the need of how much dumpsters we use. And the reality is that we were extensively using dumpsters, so we decided to buy our own, but at the same time, we wanted to also have some additional income to pay for the equipment. So the idea was to then establish first priority disposal, which is only a month being officially open. We did know that we had to also do the business license and all that. The idea is right now we are in negotiations to purchase 3115 Airline Boulevard as an industrial light parcel, 2 acres down the road. That's where we intend to move this operation down there. In the meantime, I just spoke with Mr. Boone, zoning official this morning, about the violation. That's a reality. and we're gonna address it by applying for a business license currently under 2400 airline as part of the usage by right on that parcel. And then we're just gonna move that license over to the new location once we're ready. So the dumpsters are there temporarily, let's just say that.
Thank you. Commissioners, was there any additional questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner
Yes, ma'am.
Jiggets?
I think you said you would be moving the dumpsters further down airline.
3115 airline, ma'am.
Will that still be in Portsmouth or will that be in Chesapeake?
That is Portsmouth.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I have an additional question.
Yes, Commissioner Jiggets.
I guess this is for the planning director. Did we get any type of response from the Commissioner of Revenue's office pertaining to this particular situation with moving the dumpsters further down the road?
Madam Director?
I can't hear you.
Commissioner Jiggets, no, there wasn't a request for information from the Commissioner of Revenue regarding the 3115 Airline Boulevard property. I'm actually just becoming aware of that. What I was told is that the applicant needed approximately 30 days to move the dumpster. So we assumed that was a different, they needed time to relocate. My direction to zoning was to go ahead and issue the notice of violation for the unpermitted use at the current location now, which the applicant would have 30 days to appeal that, with the hope that we'd have some resolution before it went to city council. And so that's the direction we are moving toward.
So I should take that, should I ask you or should I ask her?
You can ask me.
Do I take that to mean the recommendation from the planning department? What was the recommendation again? Refresh my memory.
The recommendation for this item was approval with conditions. This is a separate matter within that.
Right.
It isn't technically germane. It would be another item unless that I mean, I haven't done any research on that location, but if that location had by right the ability to do those, we may see Mr. Ponte back here in a month or two regarding that location. But that would be a completely separate matter.
Is that how our city attorney sees it too?
Mr. Miller?
Yes, I think that's accurate.
I can't hear you.
Yes, that's accurate.
Thank you.
Mr. Evans?
I just had a clarifying question. So do you actually own that property that you intend on moving it, or are you in the process of purchasing it?
We are in the process of purchasing it, and we have a negotiated contract that should take ratification this week.
Do you guys have a backup plan if you don't get that property, if something happens with it? For the
As I
dumpster?
mentioned earlier, we did the research on the zoning ordinance this morning, actually before all this happened, and there is a permitted right use under GMU that allows for dumpsters to be there. It's called a heavy equipment sales, service, and lease, and it aligns with what we're doing right now.
Thank you.
Commissioner Watkins?
Yeah, one last question.
Yes, sir.
The buffer that you're planning, that you were discussing between your business and these new homes, what will that entail? Chain link fence or
No.
solid fence or?
We were thinking privacy fence and then also some vegetation. Yes, sir.
All right. Commissioners, any additional questions? All right. Thank you, sir.
No problem.
Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item UP-24-26-04. I have no registered speakers. If there is someone here who did not get an opportunity to register and would like to address this application, you may come forward, state your name and your address for the record, and you will have up to 5 minutes to speak.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hi, my name is Alexandra Westfall. I live at 4102 Scott Street. And I'm here as an adjacent neighboring resident to Oregon Acres and as a civic leader in West Haven and as someone who also canvassed the adjacent property owners to talk about this use permit ahead of the last meeting that didn't occur multiple times. I'm here today to just share some concerns I heard from the neighbors on the street and around the property. Some of those items had been mentioned, and I think an email you all received this afternoon or earlier this morning. There's concern for the number of townhomes, the quantity, and the size of them, and the amount of potential parking needs for those properties. I understand and I can see there's a 2-car garage and maybe a kind of overhead deck, but I didn't see in the site plan anything else. I mean, the street in front on Kings Highway is a turn lane. There's traffic that wraps around that block regularly for the school that's adjacent and across the street. And there's concern for all of the additional traffic on Oregon Acres. All the neighbors that live on Oregon Acres in front of the school and in front of this property have talked about it being a highway. I'm not sure what further conversations have been had on that matter, but I'm just sharing feedback that I was given. Additionally, there's frustration for the scale and size. If you look at some of those site pictures, across the street on Oregon Acres is a 1-story home. Most of the homes are 1-story on that side, and now they will be looking at 3 stories of a wall. And I would like something to be considered about that size and scale for their view and what has existed for decades. What else did they have? Sorry. There's also concern for lighting and landscape plan. I understand you just discussed a privacy fence between the townhomes and the business. Looking at the site plan, I'm not sure where that would be proposed because there's some curb cuts and parking on the plan south on this drawing. So I'd be interested to know what that would look like for the business, but likewise, what kind of buffer, if warranted, for the other side of the property. And then additionally, lighting, street lighting, or lighting for landscaping, and how that compares to the scale of the adjacent properties. Those are things that other neighbors have mentioned. And additionally, water management plan, gutters, downspouts, where is all that water going to be directed, and how will that work around the site with parking and plantings? So that's all I had. I just wanted to relay that on behalf of the residents. It'd been a few months, or a month at least, trying to get that to you guys, and doing it in person I thought was important. So anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing. If there's anyone else who did not get an opportunity to register and would like to address this application, you may come forward, state your name and your address for the record, and you will have up to 5 minutes to speak. Appearing to be none, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, this public hearing is now closed.
Commissioners, is there any additional discussion? If not, we are in need of a motion and a second. Commissioner Glover?
Motion to approve UP.
Oh, Commissioner Glover, can you turn your mic on, please?
I didn't know what was working and what wasn't. I don't know exactly how technically challenged we are today. Motion to approve UP 2606 with conditions.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Commissioner Jiggett seconds, thank you.
Yeah.
Madam Secretary, we have a motion and a second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Motion and second to approve UP-26-04 with conditions. Commissioners, as I call your name, please reply with a verbal response. Commissioner G?
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Jiggets?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Glover?
Yes.
Commissioner Watkins?
Yes.
This item is approved by a vote of 6-0 with conditions. Our next item, UP-26-06, West Haven. K. Alexander requests a use permit to allow the development of 7 townhome units on the properties located at 1211 Rodman Avenue and 3614 Ray Street in the multi-family urban residential URM zoning district. The properties are owned by Kevin Alexander and further identified as tax map 314 and parcel 56 and 55. The properties are approximately 0.189 and 0.185 acres respectively, and 0.37 acres combined. The future land use map in the Build One Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan designates the properties for mixed-use corridor uses. Will the applicant or representative for this application please come forward and present your application at this time?
Good morning. My name is John Simon, or good morning, good afternoon. Sorry, it's been a morning. My name is John Simon, here to represent Kevin Alexander, who's in the audience on this application. We had taken this to the Planning Commission back in 2023 for getting a use permit. It was approved due to issues with the engineer that we were using for design on the site plan. We were not able to construct or begin the project in the time, the 3 years that was allowed, so we are asking for a reapproval, so to speak, of the same exact permit that we had put forward back in 2023. It's 7 townhomes going on the lots. It's all in compliance with the zoning that's going on there, so I'd be happy to answer any questions we have. Like I said, we're just hoping to get reapproval so that way we can finally get going now that we have site plan is in an approvable state, re-subdivision plat's in an approvable state. We just need to get our use permit reactivated so we can begin construction.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions of the applicant? Commissioner Jiggets?
Could we have the Alexander brothers to come to the podium also?
Sure. One of them is here. One of them is out of town, but Kevin is
Okay.
here.
Thank you.
Hello, Kevin Alexander. How you doing?
I'm sorry.
Kevin Alexander.
Okay. I just like when they're in the building, the audience to know that they are also at the podium in case we do have any questions of the actual applicant.
Okay. Any additional questions, commissioners?
I guess I would like to know, Mr. Alexander, from your perspective, with this project, do you see any further hampering to the project going forward from your perspective?
Did you say tampering?
Yeah, hampering. In other words,
No, I don't think
because
so.
this started, I think, in 2023, am I correct?
Yeah, I don't think so. With reapproval, we should just go straight to construction review.
Okay. This has now been 3 years. Okay, that was my question. Thank you, sir.
Commissioners, any additional questions? Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item UP-26-06. I have no registered speakers. If there's anyone here who did not get an opportunity to register and would like to address this application, you may come forward, state your name and your address for the record, and you will have up to 5 minutes to speak. Appearing to be, one moment.
Good afternoon again. Hello, Alexandra Westfall. I'm here on behalf of citizens of West Haven as a civic leader in the community. I would respectfully like to request this action get deferred. I would like to invite the developer to our Civic League meeting on Monday, July 13th at 7 p.m. to speak with us about this. It is rather unfortunate. I don't believe any of the application documents were available until July 1, which is a very short amount of time for most people to wrap their head around something, especially over a holiday weekend, let alone get a group of people together to have more conversation and collect a group opinion. I know from a few neighbors there are concerns about this, but again, I just want to open the invitation to further conversation on this type of development in our neighborhood and the goals and intent and design considerations that we care about. So I just wanted to express that.
Ms. Westfall, what I would say, especially given that this is a reapplication, I encourage you all to continue that conversation no matter what vote we have today, just because of the fact that this was one that was approved 3 years ago. And this is just coming back before us for that extension. But I do highly encourage, no matter what vote, which way the vote goes, that you all continue that conversation with the developer.
So how does that work for anything that was, 3 years ago or onward? The Civic League's active now and is willing to have conversations. Again, the information on this packet was not very well advertised and not really available with a good amount of time for anyone to process and digest it. The sign that's listed at the site has pencil-thin marker writing that is incredibly hard to read, and the Scan Me QR code doesn't even work. So the attempt to get information out is falling really far off of actually getting information out in a timely manner to citizens in the community. So I think it's in everyone's best interest to have a little bit more due diligence of reaching out to the community and not moving forward and then saying later, talk to people.
Well, I do appreciate that feedback. And just for the record, they're always available online.
This was not available until July 1.
Right, a week prior to the meeting, at least, it will be available per statutes, the state statutes. That's when it's required to be placed there. So I do definitely respect your feedback and opinion, and I know for a fact the Planning Commission or the Planning Department has received that feedback and has even brought it to our attention prior to this. So that your voice has been heard on that, and I just for the respect out of the applicants as well as we have this process. Especially with this one being one that we approved 3 years ago, I encourage you to continue the dialogue with them. And again, this is no matter which way the vote goes today.
So
but I definitely appreciate your
if
feedback.
it was approved 3 years ago, the current process doesn't really matter as much because it was already approved?
No, it still matters all the same. But the fact that it's been approved
Weighs more heavily than the public comment?
Well, the public comment was available 3 years ago as well.
I understand. The Civic League wasn't established 3 years ago. It was established after that approval, so.
No, understood, yeah.
It's a key
And that's
date.
why I'm giving the feedback that just to continue that conversation as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item UP-26-06. If there's anyone else here who did not get an opportunity to register and would like to address this application, you may come forward, state your name and your address for the record, and you will have up to 5 minutes to speak. Appearing to be none, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, this public hearing is now closed.
Commissioners, is there any additional discussion? Commissioner Jiggets?
Could you please ask our planning director to speak to what the person representing the Civic League stated about the signage and the QR code and?
Sure. Madam Director, or Dr. Russell, did you have any thoughts on the feedback that was given?
I do. We spoke a little bit about our notice requirements in the work session this afternoon in general, but not specific to this property. We were notified by 2 individuals regarding the signs for this property. We send the notice information to our traffic engineering sign shop at the Public Works Operations Yard to post the signs within 2 weeks of the public hearing. When we received the notice that there were problems with the sign, both the QR code and the readability of the signs, we re-engaged them to make those corrections. Now, the signs on the property are one of 3 notices that are available to that are required to the general public, and they're 3 to create redundancy, so all 3 would not fail. So you have the signage, we have our public hearing ads, and then we have the individual notices to property owners that are adjacent to a property that's the subject of an application. And with those 3 requirements, we're confident that the public, specifically those immediately impacted property owners, will receive notice of a pending land use action.
Did that satisfy your question?
No, it doesn't, because with any operational standards, everything has to be working. If the QR code on the signage was not working, then, in my opinion, you're failing to give proper notification. And that can become frustrating for a citizen. So those are my comments.
Appreciate the feedback, but I think by definition, redundancy is built so that if one fails, you have another thing there to cover it. But I think the feedback being given is appreciated, and it's something that Dr. Russell can take as note for future concerns that we might see, to make sure that there's no pattern of it. Because I think that's where it becomes a bigger issue, is if it's a repeated pattern where the signage does not match, or there's a failure for citizens to be able to get the information, as well as this will also go, I mean, in this particular item, for example, will also go before City Council. So there is an opportunity for those conversations to happen before it hits City Council as well. But with regards to land use, I think that we are in a good place for that right now to continue these discussions. Any additional questions, commissioners? Okay, if not, we are in need of a motion in a second.
All right, I move that the Planning Commission recommend approval for UP-26-06.
Is that with conditions?
With conditions.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Commissioner Taylor?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a motion and a second to approve UP-26-06 with conditions. Commissioners, as I call your name, please reply with a verbal response. Commissioner G?
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Jiggets?
No.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Glover?
Yes.
Commissioner Watkins?
Yes.
This item is approved by a vote of 5 to 1. Sorry. Our next item, UP-26-07, Twin Pines. A. Blakely of TRG Community Development requests a use permit for the development of a multi-family dwelling for persons 55 years of age or older on the property at 3993 Twin Pines Road in the multifamily urban residential district. The property is owned by the Portsmouth Redevelopment and Housing Authority and is further identified as tax parcel identification number 846 and parcel 28. The property is approximately 3.73 acres. The future land use map in the Build One Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan designates this property for multi-family residential uses. The applicant and representative is at the podium. You may present your application at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners. My name is Elisa Winston. I am the Executive Director for Portsmouth Redevelopment and Housing Authority. And with me is Mr. Andre Blakely, our developer partner with the Richmond Group, and Mr. John Sandown. He's a civil engineer on this project as well. Now, both the Planning Commission and City Council approved this project back in 2022. 82 units of senior housing for those that are 62 and up. So I did want to make that correction because I think earlier I saw where it was 55 and up. It is 62 and up community. Now, since that time, we have made significant progress in preparing the site and anticipated breaking ground last year. However, due to some internal policy changes with Virginia Housing, our project has been delayed. So I want to ensure you that we are committed to moving forward with this project because there is a need for affordable senior housing in the city of Portsmouth, and that need continues to grow. Now, at the end of last year, you may know that we completed Lexington Reserve. That is a 105-unit housing community, and it included amenities such as a community courtyard, a dog park, electric vehicle charging stations, a medical exam room, and a fitness center to support our seniors living independently. Now, when we opened that wait list last year, And our other properties, our other senior property, we have two senior properties, Lexington Reserve and Phoebus Square. We received over 600 applications in just a 3-day period. So that in itself speaks the need of affordable senior housing in the city of Portsmouth. So with that being said, I will turn it over to Mr. Blakely and Mr. John Santow.
Thank you. I just wanted to speak briefly about the site and the general development. So, does this work, or are you going to advance it?
Excuse me, sir, could you state your name again for the record?
I'm sorry, John Sandow, civil engineer.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we have this exhibit on the wall here is showing the L-shaped building on the site described before. And in the front, you can see the two access points. One is a full access for left and right turns, and the one that's further on plan north on the map here is the egress only. This is the product of some geometric turning requirements for a ladder truck for emergency vehicles. And that's why we also have removed a covered entryway that was in a previous architectural rendering attached to the previous use permit application. So we removed that during design. It was never a requirement, but it's no longer in the renderings, and it was not on the approved building plans because we needed the room so that a ladder truck could actually reach the upper floors. We have addressed, let's go back one. As was required as a condition in the approved rezoning, there is actually additional handicap parking spaces due to it being a 55 and older community. 52? 62. 62, I'm sorry. So that was identified during the rezoning as being something that was a concern. So we have actually increased it up to 10 handicap parking spaces. We do have some bicycle parking as was required in the open space, and there's a short-term and long-term bicycle parking. There's also a dog park that's nestled in, that's the rectangle that's kind of inside the L shape at the back of that green area. So there's a landscaped area with walkways around the building, around the entire inside radius of that parking lot, if you'll accept the radius term. And also there's some interconnecting walks through the common green and landscaped area with site furniture and, of course, the dog park that was mentioned before. We do have connectivity to the adjacent sidewalks on Twin Pines Road, and all that includes connectivity to the shopping center that's located south of the development. Okay, I'm ready. Can you go one more slide, please? There we go. There is sign monumentation out in the front that's near the road, but we have made sure that that's outside of any site distance requirements for the safe turning. And a concern that was voiced during the rezoning was the security cameras, and we've provided several throughout the site that are identified on this exhibit. They're kind of highlighted in yellow. And also, this is showing the entrance types again. There's also a left turn lane that was required during plan review to facilitate entry going southbound into the full access driveway. You going to talk about building or me too? Go ahead. Okay. All right, we'll show you a little bit about the building. Now here you can see this is the front view of the exterior concept. And in the front there is a covered entryway, but it's not a covered for vehicles because, as stated earlier, the posts that would support that large of a covering would interfere with the vehicular access of a ladder truck. And I'm just showing a few different exterior color elevations here, where you can see the color siding, and then the is it sticky brick or masonry? What is it?
Masonry, and then cyber cement.
Okay, so
you know what I'm trying to say.
like fiber cement? Okay, hardy plank. And sorry, I'm not the architect, so I'm speaking as well as I can as a civil engineer about the exterior. But here it's represented. You can see there's a brick concept on the first floor, and then sort of a hardy plank type of siding, cement siding above that. And it's similar with the balconies on the different floors, and they're stacked. And you can go, there are 2 elevators in the building. That was also a requirement of the rezoning, that there would be 2 elevators. And here, there's a little bit more information about the heights of the overall building. We are beneath the maximum requirement for allowable for this zoning, and we do have the enclosed dumpster in the rear that has the enclosure matching the architecture of the building. This is kind of a little bit going back to the site briefly, but here's some blown up areas of some of the more detailed hardscape improvements back behind the building that provides a little bit more interest and accessibility and things to do, if you will, back behind the building for the community that are all accessible by wheelchair. They've already been analyzed, and actually we had a separate consultant, specialty consultant, assess the entire design for accessibility, and we've addressed those comments as well.
Good afternoon. I'm Andre Blakely with TRG Community Development, PRHA's development partner on this project. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair, and Commissioners. Just want to fill in, provide a little bit more information in the interest of time here. I'll try to move as quickly as possible. Some of the amenities have been mentioned. Again, this is a 62-plus independent senior living facility. There will be a clubhouse and an art room, a library, computer room, interior bike storage, fitness room, dog park, outdoor plaza space with seating areas, laundry room on each floor, washer and dryer connections, dishwashers, and balconies. And then adjacent to the site, I know there was some concern about proximity to amenities. And we feel that it's in close proximity to all the necessary amenities. Immediately adjacent to the site is a venue space for events. There's 2 restaurants, there's a Dollar General, there's a church, and then less than a mile is the DMV. Less than 2 miles you have Kroger, Food Lion, and then you have Centera Medical Center as well, which is less than 2 miles away. So we felt like this was a great location for this project, providing all the necessary amenities both within the site and in close proximity in the immediate area of the site. Next slide, please. So economic analysis, just want to always share kind of the feedback and benefit to the city of Portsmouth for a project like this. For a total development cost of $30 million. We're expecting about $20 million in hard cost, and that should create about 32 full-time jobs and 96 part-time jobs. Next slide, please. I always feel it's important to give context, and in this case, we have what we call a signature project that we recently completed in December called Lexington Reserve, plushed with amenities, very safe. One of the comments that I think was posted on YouTube about the site from one of the residents' family members was that they felt safe, and they were glad that they were dropping their parent off to somewhere that was safe. There's cameras everywhere. We have full-time property management on site as well. As you can see, you can keep going through some of the photos. Courtyard area. The walking areas are kind of established on the Twin Pines site through paved walkways that go throughout the site. So there's ample opportunity for exercise, fitness, and something we really promote in addition to very high quality club room spaces. That's a double height ceiling in that club room. And again, one of our signature developments. Next slide, please. And so we try to bring a lot of activities. It's not just about the housing. We celebrate art, culture, history, various programming that Portsmouth Redevelopment and Housing Authority will be providing as well. That's why they're a great partner. And so this is not just about the housing. It is about the full experience and making sure that not only is someone being offered quality housing, but a quality lifestyle as well. Just a few more pictures. The bike stores, surprisingly enough, for seniors, well used. I was surprised. I was like, well, maybe we should have repurposed that for something else, but no, not today's seniors. That is a very popular space at Lexington Reserve. Kitchen dining area, master suite, and then some of the art program that we do, not only in Portsmouth, but in Norfolk as well, and make that a part of all of our developments. Thank you.
Commissioners, do you have any questions of the applicant?
I do.
Yes, Commissioner Jiggets?
You probably understand that I am not a dog lover. So my question is, I can understand you want to have some units that are pet friendly, but I think I'm understanding that the entire complex will be pet friendly. Is that correct?
That is correct. So all of our properties at the Housing Authority, we do allow for pets. And if we did not, that would be a violation against fair housing.
Well,
so we
can I
have to
ask-
allow all residents the opportunity to have pets.
Well, can
In
I ask
Lexington
a
Reserve, it may be 7 or 8 with pets. You know, not all of them have pets, but we still have to have, you know, allow the opportunity for them to have a pet if they would like one.
Then let me be the devil's advocate on my next question. Suppose you have applicants who have allergies in terms of dogs and different pets. There's no exception to allow those type of applicants to have isolated units for those who may have allergies for pets, dogs?
Well, we do
Anything four-leg walking?
We do a thorough clean and turn in between each unit. So that wouldn't be a problem if one resident lived in and had pets and another resident came and had pets. So we will do a thorough cleaning and what we call in the Housing Authority word, a turn of those units to make sure that it is eco-friendly for the next family that moves in. And we do have requirements, so they have to be a certain size. They have to be up to date on their shots and things of that nature that we also look at. So they have to let us know that they want to have a pet on our property. And then there's some paperwork that's required that goes along with that as well.
So if I'm hearing this correctly, for the person who has allergies, there is no path of helping those individuals to live a quality of life not around pets. I just need to understand this because, like I said, I'm very forthcoming. I'm not a pet lover. They fine in certain circumstances, but I just thought that maybe if, under the circumstances, you could at least have some units that are for individuals who are allergic to pets and they need to be in isolated environment away from those who have pets. This is just news to me.
No, we do not have a separate area.
And that's what the federal government says. That's what HUD says.
So we have to allow animals. We have to allow pets. We have to allow support animals as well, in addition to dogs. Now, what I will say is that we have a family that came to Twin Pines or Lexington Reserve, and they had an allergy, and it was not able to be maintained or controlled. We could look at relocating them to another property, maybe another property is like a townhome design style. That would create a different environment for that. That has not been an issue before, but certainly we would look into that if that became an issue.
And Director Winston, this is a common practice across all your locations,
Yes.
right? Okay.
This is what?
A common practice across all their locations.
Yes.
You mean across there? Okay. Well, like I said, I was not aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I can understand when you have that, what did you refer to, where you have those individuals, they could go into Walmart with their pet. They have a...
Service animals.
Oh, service animals.
Service animals.
Yes, they
We're
can
not
request a reasonable accommodation.
Yeah, service
Mhm.
animals. I can understand for service animals,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not the case. You're saying on the ADA requirements. Is the ADA requirements that
Fair
says
housing.
Fair housing, not.
It's fair housing that says...
We cannot exempt pets from our property, or dogs.
Not any of the units can be exempted.
No.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Commissioner Watkins?
Yeah, I have a few questions. How many total units are we talking about?
82 total units, sir.
How many, 82?
82.
82.
Correct.
Okay, so why was as the populace ages, you went from 55 to 62, and you decreased the handicap spaces from 10 to 5? That doesn't, isn't that what I saw up here, or did you increase?
We actually increased the handicap spaces.
Okay, I just want to make sure I saw that correctly. Okay. It just bothers me that, now, accessibility, I saw no floor plan here with regards to what kind of wheelchair accessibility will you have to certain rooms, like bathrooms and so forth like that. Like I said, the populace is aging, so they need special accessories to be able to live now. It's with hand grabs in showers and bathrooms and 36-inch wide doorways to get in and out. I just want to make sure that all of this is being covered when you're talking about a 62-plus community.
Correct, and it is. So the site will be accessible and adaptable. So 10% of the total units will be fully accessible. All of the common area spaces will be fully accessible. And here's what I mean by adaptable. So we know that folks will age in place here. At Lexington Reserve, for example, we added grab bars on all of the units. We have handrails through the hallways. A lot of the funding that we use kind of dictates and prescribes certain requirements that we have to follow. So it's not something that we can overlook at all. And 62 plus that was an error. We've always sort of targeted 62 plus. I'm not sure where that was introduced.
So 10% of the total is how many?
9 units.
9 units. So
fully accessible.
That's not very many units. Look, speaking from experience and speaking from the community that I live in, you're going to have a constant turnover, and you're going to have people that need that type of accessibility. And if you're not taking care of more than just 9 or 10 units, then I think we're failing in that respect.
Well, we're not just focused on 9 or 10 units. So the rest of the units will be fully adaptable. So if someone needs, if we need to add grab bars, the infrastructure is there. If we need to add other elements as people age, the infrastructure is there for that.
Well, my point is, I don't mean to shortchange this, but why wait? If you want to go back, I'm just thinking you need to have it adaptable as it's being built, because it's not going to get any cheaper. Thank you.
Well, some of our families are not yet, wheelchair accessible. They don't need that. So they don't want the lower cabinets, the lower lights, the lower stove and the lower appliances. So many of them, if they are able-bodied, they want, the standard type of appliances and equipment in their home. So that's why we don't, go across the board and make all of them accessible, handicap accessible.
I understand that.
Yes.
I understand that. And but I just want to make sure that we are accommodating those people that need the assistance and the extra accessibility.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all I have.
Commissioner Evans?
Something that really concerns me about this property and whether or not I think it's appropriate land use is just like its proximity and then the accessibility to other areas. All those amenities sound great, but it still seems like it's very secluded, and they're not like, they have all those bike racks, but where are they gonna take them? They're not gonna go biking in the, I know there's that area right there with the Dollar General, like they're not gonna go biking around that parking lot. So where do they have the ability to go somewhere else, go for a walk through a neighborhood and have other access to other spaces?
So there will be, walkable areas within the back of the property. But I also say that, we have a robust senior program. So we take our seniors out. We take them shopping. We take them, they attended cooking classes. They had music classes. They have a wide variety, and usually weekly, maybe twice a week, that we take our seniors out on outings. They are a young group. 62 may sound old to some folks, but they're young and they're vibrant, and they appreciate the activities because many of them don't drive, so we provide transportation to them to these events and services that we provide as well.
But I guess to your point, like a lot of them don't drive, and staying active is very important, especially, once you reach that age. Like I have a grandfather, grandmother that they're in their 90s and they still walk a mile a day. And I just, like, this facility seems very secluded in that they're not really going to be able to go really anywhere else outside of the areas that you're providing, is kind of my biggest concern with the land use.
I will say it is a fitness center in there as well, so please keep that in mind.
And for clarity, I mean, Twin Pines is walkable as well. And, you know, one of the things I think I was happy to see come out of the Planning Commission over the past, as well as Parks and Rec, is Pedal Portsmouth. So we have a very aggressive biking campaign throughout the city, and some of the best biking trails are actually right down the street from there, where they, I think, would be fairly accessible to this location. I think, to a point, some seclusion is a plus, especially given a landlocked city like ours where there's not as many options. But to your point, I think as we look at this layout, some of the more eastern, I think it's, was it northeastern? I think there's space there that you all have set that's more walkable around the driveway, around the parking lots and things like that.
So I guess, you're saying these are right down the road, but also what road is right next to it, like, and how active is Twin Pines? And like, are you gonna want your, 62-year-old grandmother walking along that road? I guess is something also to take in consideration with that.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. I mean, and it's one of those no wins
No, I know.
in a city like ours. And I think with them having residential areas nearby, it's pretty much surrounded, other than to the south where you have commercial, it's pretty single-family residential.
Yeah, but how are they getting there is my question.
Oh, I think it's very walkable to there. I mean, that's what I'm saying, right
Is it,
from.
I guess is my question, is it actually walkable? Like, just
It
because
is.
you have a sidewalk, like, is that really making it walkable when you're considering the age of the individuals that are gonna be living in this community? Like, how accessible is it to these other areas? And like, I know you brought up the shopping center being right there, but like I said, they're not really gonna be walking around like the shopping center doing laps. Or
Right.
taking bikes through the shopping center.
So the adjacent to it or just behind the site is a predominantly single-family neighborhood. Yes, you would have to walk on the sidewalk to get to that neighborhood, but I guess my grandmother is, still, well, she's no longer with us. She walked the sidewalks. I mean, she wasn't afraid to walk sidewalks or do anything for that matter. But it is fairly accessible, to your point, to access the single-family neighborhood if that's where you wanted to enjoy a walk at night, and that's right behind the site.
Commissioner Jiggets?
Yes. Back to the dogs for a moment, and then I'll go to the sidewalk. The residents will be required to have a scoop or something to clean up behind their dogs if they walk them out. Is that going to be a requirement, or we have to rely on the city for enforcement?
The dogs will be in the dog park, so we have the scoopers and the bags for them to pick up their waste.
Say that again?
So they have, in the dog park area, there will be scoopers, and they have the plastic so they can pick up the waste, as they go. So they walk them in the dog park.
Suppose the dogs don't make it to the park. I'm just curious.
They would be responsible for getting that up. But we also have maintenance services, 24 hours is a part of that as well.
Okay.
They're not going to walk by it. They would pick it up if the resident didn't pick it up.
Okay, and I guess the only other comment I want to make, in today's environment, most senior citizens still drive. And they have cars, so, I mean, 62 is young. And I'm familiar with the area, and correct me if I'm wrong, there are sidewalks, there are actual paved sidewalks.
Correct.
Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay, then, thank you.
Welcome.
Commissioners, any additional questions? Okay. All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item UP-26-27. I have no registered speakers. However, if there's anyone here who would like to address this application, you may come forward, state your name and your address for the record, and you will have up to 5 minutes to speak.
Hello again.
Hello.
Alexandra Westfall. Was not intentionally planning to speak to this. I'm just in the room listening. But as a licensed architect, I do have some comments that came about from the feedback and dialogue that was just shared. My first topic I wanted to talk about was quality of life concerns with this development. I heard the dialogue about the accessible units, and I would agree with Commissioner Watkins. It does seem extremely low given the possible desire to age in place. I also want to be very clear that adaptability for elderly is not just simply a grab bar in a bathroom. A rollator needs to be able to fit through a doorway, and if those are not designed with that in mind, the adaptability of that is moot. And that's a critical infrastructure piece in designing and constructing a facility of this nature. So I think that was something that was critically missed and should be acknowledged. Speaking to Commissioner Jiggett's pet concerns, I don't think we can ask the developer to be responsible for policing people to pick up their pet waste, but of your notes on pet concerns, I think it is valid and important to consider pet privacy. If there is the opportunity for every unit to have a pet, or maybe others don't want a pet, they may not want to hear the pet barking. So I don't know what the details of the wall construction are going to be in this facility, but as someone who travels and has a dog and loves my dog and loves to bring her everywhere, we've stayed in a few hotels, and we are always on edge about the barking and bothering others. So I just want that to be considered with that open gate for flexibility. The initial thing that I wanted to speak about was looking at the renderings of the facility and echoing Commissioner Evans' concerns for quality of life and walkability is the outdoor access and shade canopy. I see there's patios, I see there's some baby bush plantings, but as we all know, in this extreme heat we're suffering through recently, our summers are hot, and having canopy provides a great opportunity to enjoy the outdoors and not be sweltering in the sun. So as an extension of the facility, I think that should be considered, and I would encourage you to consider that, not just with tree plantings, but pergolas, trellises, something off of the facility or nearby that provides that shaded access. Lastly, speaking to, again, Commissioner Evans' concerns with biking areas, walkable areas, I would agree that's something that could be better developed in the concept. However, I'm going to put it back on the Planning Commission and the city to provide a better system and plan for those bike lanes, safe vehicle or pedestrian traffic crossing. Twin Pines is a heavy road, especially right before the fire station, turning left to Town Point Road. I didn't see a lot of shade in the single-family neighborhood on Google Street View just now. But to get people out and about and enjoy being out and about, mature tree canopy and just general shade is a lovely asset that I would like our city to consider more deeply in developments. And then, yeah, I disagree with Chairman Gee about there's a no-win scenario here. I think there's room for more dialogue if there's a considered approach to what quality of life we're providing, not just number of units and revenue that you're going to get. It's what are you actually providing for 62-plus-year-old people to age in place conceivably and not have, that's I think maybe the goal, not to be moving around, shuffling about as you age. That's a stressful thing for anybody at that age and their family. But I think there are a lot of great comments that came up today, and I would just like to emphasize some of those with my background and implore you guys to consider. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item UP-26-07. If there's anyone else here who did not get an opportunity to register and would like to address this application, you may come forward, state your name and your address for the record, and you will have up to 5 minutes to speak. Appearing to be none, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, this public hearing is now closed.
Commissioners, is there any additional discussion? If not, we are in need of a motion and a second.
I move that we accept the application concerning 26-07 Twin Pines.
And that's with the conditions?
With conditions,
Thank you.
with the conditions.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, Commissioner Taylor second. Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a motion and a second to approve UP-26-07 with conditions. Commissioners, as I call your name, please reply with a verbal response. Commissioner G,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
Commissioner Jiggets,
Yes.
Commissioner Evans,
No.
Commissioner Glover,
Yes.
Commissioner Watkins.
Yes.
This item is approved by a vote of 5-1. Our next item, CBE-26-02, Hidden Cove. S. Whitaker requests a Chesapeake Bay Preservation Act exception to construct an addition that encroaches into the resource protection area of the Chesapeake Bay Preservation District on the property located at 4443 Pelican Point in the General Residential Zoning District. The encroachment is estimated at 400 square foot. The property is further identified as tax map 902, parcel 136. The property is approximately 0.14 acres in size, and the future land use map in the Build One Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan designates this property for single-family residential low to medium density. The applicant is at the podium, and you will have up to 10 minutes to speak.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Commissioners. I'm Sean Whitaker, longtime resident Portsmouth, the original owner, me and my wife, of this particular house. And we're at that age where we need an addition because we can't go up them steps. But not only for us, we actually took in my brother-in-law, who's handicapped, and we need to be able to have this addition based on his need to have a unit that's on the ground floor level. Okay, so this house was already built in the RPA. When we built it, the whole neighborhood, that whole side of the street we did not know at that time. So what we did, we had to add this addition, and we mitigated, and we added all the canopies needed. We followed the the planner's advice on what we needed to make this happen, and now we're here, and we're just asking that we be able to build this addition so that our brother can have a better way of life. We also talked with all the neighbors. We talked with our neighborhood association. We followed all the guidelines with them also, and we got signatures where everybody's approved on that end, and we're hoping we can get this done right here so we can get my brother-in-law out of my wife's living room. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Commissioners, do you have any questions of the applicant? Commissioner Jiggets?
It's not so much for the applicant. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Russell. State code has now changed so that single-family dwellings can also have an additional unit in their backyard. Am I correct on that interpretation, Attorney Miller?
Dr. Russell?
Say that again?
Oh, I was...
Oh. Is that correct?
Accessory residential dwelling units are permitted, not necessarily by right. They're supplemental design standards relative to lot size. But even with that, this is a request to approve an addition in an environmentally sensitive area. So it wouldn't be permitted by right.
I guess that was what I wanted to get to. So if Mr. Whitaker instead wanted to do the additional unit in the backyard of the property that State of Virginia Code now allows, it could not be done in this situation because of the encroachment concerning the waterways, so to speak. Am I correct on that?
Yes, ma'am.
I can't hear you. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. just wanted to be clear that there was not a pathway beyond adding what you wanted to add in light of the effective July 1st state code change for Virginia about single-family units can now have another unit in their backyard.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you for being patient to allow me to ask that question and sort of loop it in with what you're asking. I appreciate that.
Understood.
Commissioners, any additional questions? All right, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item CBE-26-02. I have no registered speakers. If there is anyone here who did not get an opportunity to register and would like to address this application, you may come forward, state your name and your address for the record, and you will have up to 5 minutes to speak. Appearing to be none, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, this public hearing is now closed.
Commissioners, is there any additional discussion on this item? If not, we are in need of a motion in a second.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that the Planning Commission recommend approval for CBE-26-02 Hidden Code.
Thank you. Commissioner Evans?
I second.
All right, Madam Secretary, you have a motion and a second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Motioned and second to approve CBE-26-02. Commissioners, as I call your name, please reply with a verbal response. Commissioner G?
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Jiggets?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Glover?
Yes.
Commissioner Watkins?
Yes.
This item is approved by a vote of 6-0.
Okay, Commissioners, this concludes this agenda, but as we spoke earlier, we were going to address an item we were unable to discuss in the work session. I do thank the public for coming out and joining us today. At this time, we're going to be going over short-term rentals. Dr. Russell?
Yeah, that's right.
No, is this me or you? This me? Okay, perfect. All right. Good afternoon, Chairman G, members of the Planning Commission. I will be accompanied this afternoon with Ms. Michelle Bowman, Senior Zoning Officer with the Portsmouth Department of Planning and Zoning, to discuss a proposed draft ordinance regarding short-term rentals in the city of Portsmouth. The planning and zoning staff was charged by our city council to develop an ordinance for the regulation of short-term rentals and to bring that forward for council consideration by August 2026. And so in the early part of the spring, we developed a draft ordinance and began a public engagement process around these development standards. And so let me share with you that today, the city of Portsmouth does not have prescriptive regulations for permitting short-term rentals. The Code of Virginia, however, permits short-term rentals for properties where the property owner resides in the property at least 50% of the time. And so by default, that is the provision that is applied in the city of Portsmouth. We're proposing some standards that Ms. Bowman is going to review with you, and then I'm going to come back to the podium to review the feedback that we've received from a public engagement stakeholder effort where we've engaged community members over 11 touch point meetings at various locations citywide and community events. And what we would like at the end of that discussion is feedback from commissioners relative to what are your thoughts about the draft ordinance. And so we have feedback from 11 touch points with community members. We have feedback from our city council members at their June 23rd meeting, and we'll take that feedback plus the feedback that we receive from the commission this afternoon and rally together to coalesce all of that information to revise the proposed draft ordinance for subsequent work sessions so we can get to a consensus that this is the body of work that we want to bring forward. All right? Ms. Bowman? I called you a little bit too early. Let me do this one real quick. Okay. All right. So one of the things that I want to share, and it's important to share because it has come up as a question at almost every community engagement event, is what is a short-term rental? And this is as stipulated in the code. It is the rental of property for 30 days or less. Okay, so the questions have been raised is, can it be shorter or can it be longer? But as a matter of legal precedence, what the code permits, we can't do anything more stringent than that unless it's allowed. Okay, so I want to point your direction to the graphic at the right that shows that difference between owner-occupied and a non-owner-occupied unit. And so the house to the very left that shows two people at the top of the unit and one person at the bottom, that would be an owner-occupied short-term rental with a property owner or lives in the property at the same time that they have a tenancy interest in the property. The graphic on the right demonstrates an owner-occupied unit where the owner would reside in the property, say 50% of the year, and that portion of the year that they don't reside in the property is also used as a short-term rental. Both of those instances are considered owner-occupied. All right, so now, uh-oh, what happened? Are you? Okay, let me get rid of this dangerous piece of equipment, and I'll sit down, all right?
So will you break the equipment?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Hello. Some of the things that we looked at when we started with this is we needed to make sure that there was a balance for short-term rental opportunities, but also neighborhood protection. So you want people to be able to have short-term rentals, but the neighborhoods need to feel safe as well. We want to ensure safety, accountability, and fairness. And what we're looking at currently for density controls is a max of one short-term rental within 500 feet or a max of 10% per block. We know that there are several areas that currently have more than that. But in the future, as the registrations are coming in, we want to be able to make sure that there aren't a whole bunch of them in one area. I know Old Town, there are quite a few in certain areas. And the neighbors seem to be affected, whether it's by parking or garbage on the property, things of that nature. The city could deny permits if the area becomes too saturated. So if we already have applications in and they're fulfilling the requirements of the ordinance as far as density, we could possibly have to deny those applications that come in. Safety and operations. They're going to need to meet the building and fire codes for the city. They're going to have to follow the noise rules that are already in effect, trash regulations. They're going to have to follow those as well. A guest log is going to have to be required and will need to be filled out. Pools cannot be rented separately. I don't know if any of you are familiar with a site called Swimply, where people will rent out their swimming pool just as they rent Airbnbs. We do not want two separate rentals happening at the same time. Local contact requirements, they'll have to be within 50 miles, whether that is the property owner, a property management company, or a relative that they have standing in their place. And they will have to be available 24/7 and respond within 1 hour. Thank you. I don't know if that was you or me. All short-term rentals will have to have a zoning permit or zoning clearance, business license, and city registration. The application requirements are going to be proof of primary residence, liability insurance of $300,000 as a minimum. They're going to need to submit a floor plan. The next slide or two, we're going to touch on the occupancy. And one of the things that we're going to be able to tell by the floor plan is how many bedrooms are there. So that will be not only helpful for that part, but also then for the fire inspection portion of it. Provide us with their contact information, and they will have to be tax compliant. So if there's any outstanding taxes that they owe on their property, they will have to come into compliance in order for the permit to be able to be issued. They're going to need to pay the lodging tax, and their registration number is going to be required on all of their listings. So if they put a listing on VRBO, Airbnb, wherever the case may be that they advertise it, they will be required to have that registration number. That's going to be a way where we can hopefully be able to keep track of whether or not they came into us to get approval for said Airbnb or short-term rental. What I was speaking of with the occupancy and the floor plan showing us the number of bedrooms, currently what we're thinking is 2 people per bedroom, maximum of 8 total occupancy. And where that comes from is our definition of family. It's 8 people, up to 8 people unrelated by blood or marriage. So that's why we decided to go with the 8. Now, other neighboring cities, they vary quite a bit as far as how many they allow. I think there's one of them that allows up to 10, and I think there's some that allow as few as 4 or 6. So we're kind of in the middle there with that. The off-street parking is going to be required. We know that there's currently a lot of concern from people as we were doing our public engagement. They are concerned about the off-street parking and the on-street parking that is currently happening with short-term rentals that are in operation. We do not want to have parties or events at the short-term rentals. No overlapping bookings. So I couldn't book for my up to 8 people and then have someone come in behind me and say, oh, well, I have 8 people that I'm booking as well. Now I have 16 people in this house. As far as enforcement, 3 violations in 1 year, we can revoke their permit. And each day will be considered a separate violation. I'll turn it back over to Dr. Russell.
Thank you. So the feedback that we received from our 11 touch point meetings really focused on 6 areas. So parking and street capacity. The ordinance the draft ordinance currently does require on-site parking. And in some communities, Old Town specifically, we heard concerns about there is no off-street parking in Old Town, but there today does exist short-term rental units. And so then are we excluded from participating in this opportunity? We heard that from other communities that might have off-street parking, but they have narrow streets. And so meeting the parking requirements in the draft ordinance today for residential units, it's the the current required parking, so it's 2 spaces plus 1 additional if you want to use the property as a short-term rental. They would be precluded from participating, so we were asked to look into that. Registration before advertising, another concern. Neighborhood stakeholders were believed it's fair that they have some notice that the property is going to be used for this purpose before it's used for that purpose. Guest log and privacy is a requirement of the ordinance. We did have questions about would that information be made available to the general public. Safety and quality of life. And the best way I know to describe this is, when you live in a community and you have neighbors, we all will do something family or socially oriented a couple of times a year, right? And so in my household, it might be 3, so holidays and birthdays, things of that nature. Short-term rental, potentially, your neighboring property could be used every single weekend for some social event. And is that reasonable? We argue that that's not reasonable. That's not a reasonable use of a residential property, or even a reasonable expectation that your neighbors would be expected to bear. The ordinance currently stipulates that owner occupancy is required at least part of the year. We've been asked to consider some allowances around that, namely because there are some investors who have purchased properties for the sole purpose of operating them as short-term rentals. And the question that was posed at these stakeholder events is, then now what do I do if that was my intent? And then a very important question was, do we have the enforcement capacity in the city of Portsmouth to regulate these ordinances or these draft regulations, given the number? And there are also concerns related to vesting. If a property owner already uses their property as a short-term rental, then are they vested and they don't have to meet the current regulations or apply for a permit? And those are issues that we have been tasked with addressing. And so based on these early concerns and feedback, what has been proposed by staff, because we did 2 sets of meetings. So we did the draft ordinance and took it out to community meetings. Then based on that feedback, we went back and did a second set of meetings to say, hey, this is what we're proposing. That we retained the 2 guests per bedroom requirement with a maximum of 8. I want to make that clear that that doesn't mean that every property would be permitted 8 guests. It means that if you have 3 bedrooms, your maximum would be 6. If you have 2 bedrooms, your maximum would be 4. We were asked to consider what that means relative to tenancy and guest. And so what we mean by that is if you lease the property for your immediate family, but you host a family dinner, is that permitted? And we can address things like that in the definitions part of the ordinance. Complaints and enforcement, so the 24/7 local responding party requirement within 50 miles, and they need to be able to respond within an hour. Really want to create some provisions in the ordinance that relieve the police department, the non-emergency number, for being the point of contact for addressing any concerns that come out of the operation of a short-term rental during off hours, like weekends and evenings, things of that nature. This is something that I marveled at, because it's obvious, but it wasn't obvious when we drafted the regulations. And it was, isn't it reasonable to notify the civic associations and the neighboring property owners at the time of application? And we think that is, and we will likely build that into the proposed ordinance revisions. Okay, so we did present the proposed ordinance language, same way we did today, to the city council. The feedback, so this is in addition to the community feedback, is the consideration of a tiered regulation system, so that if there were instances, for example, where the property is not occupied by a property owner, could we require a more stringent land use permitting process? Or if a property owner had an unusually large property and they wanted 10 guests, could we accommodate that through a more stringent land use process? Meaning it's not a registration process, but some type of additional permitting process. We had absent owner concerns. This really was around trash, although there could be other issues, and I'll explain what happened there. So the current ordinance requires consistency with our trash regulation requirements, our noise requirements, and things of that nature. We had a property owner that came to our last community meeting, and he was at his wit's end because he said the trash regulations really don't come into effect until the receptacles are at the street. And so after a property is vacated by short-term tenants and the property is cleaned and the trash is outside of the house, those trash cans or trash receptacles are overflowing for weeks until the property is rented again. And that creates a nuisance. And how do we, how can we build requirements into the ordinance to regulate things of that nature? And I understand that, you know, it's not their responsibility to go out and take the neighbor's trash out, but typically is the way this was explained is that those issues are not dealt with until someone comes to clean the property for the next tenant. Distance rules and fairness, the 10% density cap and the 500 feet between units. The question that was posed around that is that fair? And really what that does is create a first come, first serve environment. And then, you know, some people have more opportunity to respond quickly than others, and that should that be how these permits are issued. So we need to look at that. And then we were asked to benchmark regionally and throughout the Commonwealth for what other communities are doing, and so are there other opportunities that we have not considered. So I believe that we are at the point, yes, where we would like your feedback, similarly to how we engage the community members and the council. Be brutal, like, you know, give us everything that you got, because with the feedback that you provide for us is going to help us improve the draft and develop an ordinance that is going to be effective when it's adopted. And the last thing I want to provide is that we are anticipating adoption with the delayed enforcement or effective date of the ordinance at the beginning of the year. All right.
Yes. Okay. Oh, I see the hands are ready. I'm going to start first. So with the first question that came to mind, you mentioned owner being 50 miles, I believe it was, within? Or
A point of contact.
Point of contact, okay. My question would be, would a middle management be allowed to do that?
Yes.
I recall, I believe it was on one of our Newport applications. Are builders able to, or not builders, are developers able to specify that there will be no short-term rental available? And would that be through like HOAs, or could different subdivisions and developments determine that?
That's a legal question.
Oh,
We
he
lost
ran
them at the 4 o'clock mark, I think.
I could add something to that.
We can
So,
follow up.
I'm a realtor.
You jumped ahead of me, but go
Well,
ahead.
I was gonna say, so like HOAs, anytime one of my tenants is looking to buy a condo in an HOA, they have to get approval if they're planning on using it for that. Obviously, I would recommend, you know, talking to him, but that's what I've experienced, is that they would have to get approval with the HOA.
Perfect. I feel like we talked about that a couple of months ago. Not on the one we approved today, but I feel like on one of the other ones we had mentioned that. So, Commissioner Evans, did you have something else as well?
I did have another question, but she was ahead of me.
Okay.
Yeah, I was ahead.
Okay.
And y'all know
Sorry.
my only child.
Sorry, Commissioner Jiggins.
That's okay. Just so happens right across from me, there is a single-family home, and it was renovated. It was beautiful before. So up until this point, it has been used, I guess, as a, similar to Airbnb. And the way their property is configured, they have a driveway that's on the side, so you really don't see it. They can go in on that side. But here is the thing. With the short-term rental, I want to be assured that there is no way for, say, someone who is the owner of a lot of, how do I put this? Owner of a lot of units, in single units, that cater to individuals with different mental needs. In other words, I'm gonna say, suppose I have a number of businesses in the city of Portsmouth where I'm housing individuals in single-family houses under state code that doesn't have anything to do with short-term rental. But who's to say that I can't also use a short-term rental to do short-term contracts to utilize those properties to provide accommodations for individuals who have physical handicaps or mental handicaps to stay in those units, say with a person who is considered the manager of the unit. In other words, we need the requirements tightened so that you don't have individuals wanting to misuse those short-term rentals for those types of businesses that really fall under a different category having to do with those who are mentally incapacitated, physically incapacitated. And I'm gonna say one more thing. There was a previous council member, they're no longer on council, and they've done very well in that line of business. But I would not want to see the requirements smudged so that those types of businesses could slide into the short-term rental type of business. Am I making my question clear?
I've noted your concern, and we will take
You
that into
understand what I'm
account in the
saying?
ordinance provisions. I
Yeah.
believe that we should likely seek legal counsel so that we're not violating any provisions of the Fair Housing Act relative to tenancy.
I mean, because you understand, those of us who live in single-family dwellings, you can say what you want to say, but it does impact the appraised value of your home, I believe, unless the real estate assessor can prove otherwise, that having adjacent single-family houses used for purposes other than a single-family occupied home, that it does not impact the marketability of our own individual houses, which I believe it does. And so I feel that that needs to be addressed also, because that's really the bigger concern. Is it going to bring down the value in the neighborhood because certain houses will be used for short-term rentals? That's a big question that needs
Yes,
to
ma'am,
be
and
answered.
I have got your comments. Thank
All
you so
right,
much.
thank you.
Commissioner Evans?
Oh, I was going to ask, so what are you guys doing for proof of residency? Like, what's the process for that?
The, so the operations are not embedded in the ordinance, but there's some best practices around proof of residency, like, so annual attestation of your residency, driver's license, voter registration cards. Those are both examples that if they're falsification, there's significant legal consequences for that, so.
Yeah, I was just trying to see if it was enforceable. And then Also, for adding the registration on like Airbnb or Vrbo, whatever platform they're using, who's gonna like enforce that, I guess, is my question. Like, are you guys gonna have someone that's sitting there like going through?
No, we're not,
Yeah.
no, absolutely not. But there are things like that where the catalyst for the question is, do we have the capacity to do this, to manage this? And so the registration number being on all advertisements is a red flag when it's not there. And so if it's a red flag when it's not there, by virtue of the address, then we can follow through with enforcement.
Commissioner Glover?
Okay. So the 50% occupancy,
50%.
there was something up there that said that the owner had to occupy it 50% of the time.
It works 50% of the time.
Yeah. I don't know how you prove that. I mean, you've got your residency, okay, you can prove that, unless you are auditing that I only have rentals 26 weeks out of the year. Because there's no way to prove I'm putting my head in a bed in this house.
That's where neighbors come in.
I mean, it's not enforceable, is all I'm saying, unless you're actually looking at revenue bookings, number of days, and if it exceeds 26 weeks, then they violate it. They're in violation. The other question I have is, you said maximum 8 people, maximum 2 people a bedroom. I have an infant and I have a pack and play. I'd like to bring them. You've not accounted for them. So, and I also know that there are a lot of homes or short-term rentals that have bunk rooms, that have 2 bunk beds that'll accommodate 4 kids. So I don't know if we want to count children as half a person. I mean, I don't know how you want that math, but I think you need to account for if it's 13 and under.
Yeah, that did come up in our community meetings.
Okay.
Yes.
Commissioner, who was next?
I'll go again.
Wait, no. Commissioner Watkins, did you have something?
Say what?
Commissioner Watkins, did you have? Okay, Commissioner Taylor.
I just wanted to touch back on the HOA piece. Some of them do write in provisions for short-term rentals that can't be less than 30 days. So it's kind of at the discretion of the HOA. I know Old Town does have quite a few Airbnbs, but it seems like based on this, they'll be kind of wiped out because of the lack of parking in Old Town. And it's kind of hard to account for when it's street parking because you don't really know how many vehicles to a house. Parkview is another area that has quite a few Airbnbs, and they are within 500 feet of each other. So I'm just kind of trying to wrap my mind around how these will be enforced if we already have such an influx of Airbnbs throughout Portsmouth. It's a lot. So,
thank you.
It's just my concern.
I have an important question as well. Will we have an ongoing role in this? Like, will they have to come before us, or will it just be handled administratively through your office?
Ongoing role in the development of the ordinance, and the public hearing does have to start here.
Post ordinance, yeah. Like once it's in effect, do we envision this being something that I'm interested in doing my house as a Vrbo? Throwing a different name out there so we don't keep saying the same one. Would they have to come to planning commission to get that approved, or would that just go to the planning department?
I believe that it's going to all be administrative, and I'll need to confer with Mr. Miller and Mr. Challenger as we revise the ordinance. The code stipulates that, so this section of the code states that if we don't already have an ordinance, that any ordinance that we adopt can include like a CUP requirement or a special exception requirement. So my question is then, so what can we do if we want to implement the triage approach? I don't know the answer to that. So I don't know the answer to that today.
Commissioner Evans.
I had one more comment. So the 8% occupancy, I'm assuming that's just for registered people coming there. And then you said no parties or events. I think that's good to have in there because you could give them a violation, but I also don't think that's something that's necessarily enforceable because no one's going to be going to every single Airbnb and checking to make sure there's not more than 8 people there.
I mean, full disclosure, I think Airbnb themselves have that policy many times, which I've had parties
There
in those
to
before.
enforce it.
So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
But no, great
like
point.
I said, it's good for just a violation if they get called on for something, but it's not really enforceable.
Yeah. Commissioner Jiggets?
Yes, for clarity purposes, please define again the difference between an Airbnb and a short-term rental, if there is in fact a difference.
There is no difference.
Well, Airbnb is a host site. It's not just like VRBO, Airbnb. They're the term that we define is short-term rental.
Not every property on Airbnb.
Wait. I still got the floor. Say that again.
Yeah, so that graphic on the bottom right lists all the potential, well, not all, but it's a significant number of potential portals and vendors that property owners can use and potential tenants can use to lease a property in a desired area. And so it's great marketing if you associate Airbnb or VRBO with the short-term rental, the only venues that are out there, but they're not. So
The point that I wanted to focus in on, because I heard a lot of comments about HOAs, but in certain neighborhoods, they fall outside of HOAs, and yet they are absorbing a large preponderance of Airbnbs. And that's the point that I really need us to focus on also, because it's not going to be the HOAs that are going to be bombarded with these short-term rentals, I don't believe. But it certainly will be the neighborhoods like I live in. I'm in zip code 23704. And as I've already indicated, I have one right across the street. I have no complaints at the moment, because when they do have someone who is there, and most of the people who are renting it, actually they are in the area on assignment, temporary assignment at the Norfolk Naval Shipyard. And so therefore, they are renting the Airbnb. Now, the reason I don't have a complaint is because on trash day, either the occupant is putting the trash out and taking it in, or once the unit or the home is vacated, whomever owns that Airbnb single-family home, make sure they come by and they take in the trash receptacle. I think it would behoove us to make sure we know the exact trash days for those short-term rentals, which we know it's going to be every week on one day or the other. But I also have a concern that in terms of our police department, I'm not so sure that they are going to be as sensitive concerning neighbors' complaints about short-term rentals. And when we talk about the one where you said about the events.
No events?
The events, in my mind, I can see an event being a dinner party. Are you telling me that would not be allowed? That's a question. That's a question. I guess you don't have the answer yet. But I mean, because someone might rent a short-term rental with the sole purpose that they also want to throw a dinner party for some of their acquaintances.
Commissioner, let's give the
in the area.
Let's give the director a chance to respond.
Oh, no, I hadn't finished with my question. That's okay. So, my point is this. Do you not have to sort of take it a little bit further and distinguish between, say, an event, a party, and, say, a dinner party of those who are occupying? Because what I'm hearing is that if the individual throws a dinner party, they would be out of compliance. Is that correct? Would they be out of compliance?
Yes. Commissioner Jiggets, we recognize from your comments as well as feedback that we've received from our public engagement events, the need to define what an event is. And so that prescriptive definition will clearly outline what is a permitted activity and what is not a permitted activity. I believe it was Commissioner Evans when we did our one-on-one that pointed that out. So a dinner there are dinner parties and then there are dinner parties, right? So and then
there's the cookout.
Yeah, so I think the dinner party is okay, but the dinner party might not be. It
and
just
then
depends.
If they have their swimming
depends
pool.
on the number, depends on the activity, but we're going to define events, parties and events in the draft ordinance. So we have to make it enforceable.
Do any of our surrounding neighborhood cities already have this in place?
Absolutely, and many have
Chesapeake and Suffolk and Norfolk have it in Virginia Beach?
So we took that slide out. Suffolk does not. Suffolk is in the same situation that we are in. Virginia Beach only allows them in specific areas. So we've benchmarked against neighboring communities. Yes.
And
Thank you.
I will say for clarity, at one point Airbnb had a policy of 16 people was considered a party no matter what. It could be Bible study. It could be a cookout, it could be a party. 16 people was against their policies. They've relaxed it since then, but at one point that was their set rule, regardless of purpose. It was by the number of people. Commissioner Watkins?
Yeah, just one point of interest. Most HOAs have in their rules and regs that rentals are not allowed within the HOA community. So it's up to that HOA how they're written, if they would allow any kind of rental, short-term rental, VR, whatever it is, but just point of clarification there.
Commissioner Taylor?
I do want to say that a lot of the sites, Airbnb, Vrbo, any of them, they do come with a lot of rules and regulations, and it's not just anybody renting them. I use them when I go out of town. I use them when I travel. I don't use them locally, but I know sometimes it can kind of get a bad reputation because we may have a story about, this was an Airbnb party and something bad happened, but it doesn't happen all the time. So typically the people who rent out Airbnbs are just as decent as the people who rent out five-star hotels. So I don't want the regulations to feel like they have to crack down on these people. We're more so trying to just regulate the owners of these properties so we identify them, we know where they are, and we can kind of keep a track of if there's any issues with their guests. But it's hard to control people in the same breath. So that's it.
Commissioner Evans?
So I just want to clarify for everyone too. Vrbo and Airbnb are platforms. It is not strictly for short-term rentals, so you can have mid-term rentals on there, which is over 30 days. So just to clarify that for everyone. And then also to add to your point, like most property owners that own Airbnbs also don't want the property torn up because that means they have to pay to fix it up. Or if they're not in town, pay someone to go out there and clean it. They also don't want to deal with the headache. So I think that also needs to be taken into consideration. And then also the context of Portsmouth and where people are like renting in. Like, I think more restrictive regulations are probably necessary for like an area where you have like beachfront property, because that's when you'd have more of a concern of like someone throwing a party. Whereas like if someone's renting an Airbnb, because I've rented Airbnbs in neighborhoods and it's just because it's close to where I'm working and it's convenient. But like I'm not throwing a rager there just because I'm renting an Airbnb. Yeah, and I would say, most people are decent people.
Commissioner Jiggets?
Once again, we have Airbnbs. So then, why do we need short-term rentals defined?
Short-term rental is Airbnb is often a platform where people can do a short-term rental.
Right.
So Airbnb is a generic term like Kleenex at this point that people often associate with the platform to do.
So what you're saying is that we're really not talking about short STRs, we're talking about Airbnbs.
We're talking about STR. We're talking about any time someone's renting a place for less than 30 days.
I just don't understand why we even need to add this particular acronym.
Well, so I think that's a great question. What is the antithesis of the necessity for these regulations? Is it one in part financial? I mean, or is it from regulations, or can we share that basic part?
So the directive came out of concerns related to quality of life and protecting communities. And so the consistent complaints around short-term rentals in the unregulated environment are complaints related to noise, trash, parking, and nuisance behavior. Those are the consistent and the frequent complaints.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been a few that are violent, and I believe one that resulted in a fatality. And so that is why we were directed to develop some regulations. And we're trying to be very thoughtful and thorough in the development of these standards. We recognize, like I know Newport News and Virginia Beach specifically have had several renditions. They've adopted ordinances and gone back and had to tweak those ordinances. We are hopeful that we will have an adopted ordinance with an effective date before the end of the year, with an effective date at the beginning of the year, and we'll have a year of data to see how it's going, and then we can adjust it as necessary where we see that we missed this issue and that issue needs to be addressed.
Commissioner Jickets?
I think because I watched the city council meeting when you all did your presentation. I think you did mention you're going to make sure that the individuals who are leasing the short-term rentals or Airbnbs, they're going to have to pass a criminal background check. Is that correct?
No, ma'am.
Well, that's my recommendation.
Okay.
And I'd say that because when you talk about neighborhoods with children, I'm on Nextdoor, the app. Probably a lot of you are. If you're not, you should get on it because you can learn a lot about how citizens feel about the city of Portsmouth as well as surrounding cities. And it lets me know when someone is in a certain area and they are not supposed to be around children. So I think it's a necessity to have that in the ordinance.
Thank you.
Okay. Any additional feedback, commissioners? Okay. Director Russell, Ms. Bowman, thank you all so much for this
Thank you so
presentation.
much.
Commissioners, is there any additional business today?
No.
Again, I want to take this opportunity to welcome our two newest commissioners to what may be our longest meeting in my 12 years on the Planning Commission. Again, we do appreciate you all choosing to join the Planning Commission and serve in the city. This is Commissioner Watkins and Commissioner Evans. I look forward to talking with you all throughout the time. I know you guys are going to be here for a few years now, and I got 2 years left myself. So thank you all again. And that being said, today is adjourned. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Oh,
What happened?
Director Russell, is there any additional business?
Yes, I was glad to introduce our student interns this summer, and ask that they share with you where they are in school. So we have Jay, Vanessa, and we have Darion Stellar. We share with them Jay, what school are you at? And you're going into your
Well, welcome. Thank you guys for joining us this year. Dr. Russell, is there anything else? All right, and thank you all. And then appropriately now, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.